Music in the soul can be heard by the universe. This is a quote by the great philosopher Lao Tzu. This quote basically means that music is a universal thing, it's not an individual thing. Music is something that many people in history have experienced, and they still will experience in the future. I've researched a lot about this topic of music, and so I feel like I know a lot more about this than I had before. I also had taken a music theory and a music history class in high school, so I already had some pre-knowledge on this beforehand, and the research just adds to what I've already known about this. So I found that a majority of you only have about 0 to 3 years of musical experience. I'd like to inform you all about the history of music so you hopefully understand a lot more of this and you can take away a lot more with music so you'll know a lot more about it and it can influence your lives. Some main points that I would like to talk about through this are where and when music has started in history, some stakeholders in music's development and change, and some trends that music has gone through so you can possibly understand where music might head in the future. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering where and when music was first created. Well, we're not entirely sure actually. There isn't an exact date or time or place to know where music was first created. There wasn't proper documentation back thousands of years ago, so no one is completely sure just yet. But from a study from the article Folk Music and the History of Music, it talks about how Native Americans and Indians used to use music during their celebrations, during the hunting, and during their battles. During this, they would use music for the reason of frightening their enemies in battle, and the animals as well while hunting them. And they would also use the music to help encourage their own armies and their own men to keep fighting. They keep having the beat going, so they keep jumping in. They don't give up and get discouraged if the army happens to be larger on the other side. Music didn't really take off, though. It didn't really get started that well until the first written language was started. And the first written language was created in Mesopotamia in the year 3200 BC. The language was rather simplified, so it didn't have a wide vocabulary, so most songs didn't have, they didn't have as much variety in the words than they do now. The first song that was written, though, was called Hurricane Hymn Number 6. I don't know why it was called Number 6 if it was the first one that was created. That's just what all my sources have found online. And the song is made entirely of beats. This song has no lyrics at all. It's just all straight beats for about 1.5 minutes. And that's the first song that is ever properly recorded. Not necessarily the first one that was made, but the one that was properly recorded in history so we can actually go back and look to see what it is. Some stakeholders in this are Christian hymn writers, Johann Sebastian Bach, and also the Beatles. Christian hymn writers took music from actually the Native Americans that were using it for battles and celebrations like that. And so the Christians started to use music in their churches to help praise God. And with that, they would write the songs to be sung in chants every single week at church. And then with that, they were able to honor God more, and they kept this going to write songs that are actually still played today and still sung today, such as Amazing Grace and O Holy Night. They're still played today and they're still known by everyone, mostly everyone. Bach also was highly influential in music. He influenced people like Beethoven and Mozart, and he actually he made the basis for what music theory is based off of nowadays. The Beatles can also trace their influences even through people nowadays, through artists nowadays. Most artists nowadays can track their influences back down to the Beatles, whether through like 2 or 3 generations of influences. And they have songs like, which I'm sure you all know, like Let It Be and Eleanor Rigby and Yellow Submarine. So the Beatles, well, through all these changes, you can really tell the influence that has happened. Music has evolved from wars, chants, and symphonies, as you just learned, and now music has also changed to be louder and more synthesized, and also less traditional. From IPL.org, we learned that decibels are painful for our hearing at 90. At 105 is what, 115 is what most concerts are at, and they can be more damaging at 125 decibels. So I'd like to recap that we're not entirely sure where music has actually come from, or it could be from Mesopotamia. Christian hymn writers Johann Sebastian Bach and the Beatles were highly influential in music's creation, and also some trends that have happened may possibly lead into the future. But what I'd like to leave you with is that music is universal and always evolving. If you stop listening, you just might miss it. Thank you.